And Shua threw himself on the ground and sobbed. And 3 days after that, did wake for a total stranger. A tax collector living in the same shack that the old whore had lived in died. Shua heard about it, went out, buried the man, and did wake for him, as if anybody would come to the wake of a leech. Threw the dirt on his head, wailed for him. Then he came back into our village and asked us why we hadn't come. And he didn't bathe and became unclean and forced us to avoid him. The day after that, the Romans came into our village requisitioning. That's their word for robbing us of food. We stood on the sides of the square in icy silence and just watched them the way you watch insects in the dirt. Shua walked out to an auxiliary who was standing in the middle of the square, and he offered him bread. Family food. The sign of brotherhood. The auxiliary didn't know what to do. But before he could do anything, the centurion rode over and he said, "Don't eat that. This rat may have put poison in it." You see, they don't think we know any Greek. And they don't think we know their little joke that Romans think Jews look like the sewer rats of Rome. But Shua knew what he said. He broke the bread in half, bit off a portion from each side, and held it out to both of them. The centurion said, "He's crazy. Let's get out of here." When they were gone, Eli walked out to Shua and he said, "Who are you? Where's my friend? He left here, you know, and was gone a long time, and he didn't come back. What did you do with him?" "Eli," Shua said, "the kingdom is here. The hatred must end." And Eli spat full in his face. That is never, ever done among us. Never to a brother, no matter what the cause. And I think Eli regretted it instantly, because he reached out with a kind of infinite grace and just wiped off the spittle. And then he turned and left the square. "Eli!" Shua cried. "Eli!" But he didn't come back. Nor did anyone, for all had left the square, except me. I lingered to see Shua drop the bread into the dirt and just stand there, tears coming down his face. I saw him on the ledge that night, and I went up to reason with him, but I didn't, because when I got up to him, I heard him saying this, "Abba, Abba, Abba, Daddy." Now he mourns for Joseph, I thought. Now, when it's too late. His last day with us was a market day. He was sitting outside his house. The market was in full turmoil as usual, but people were avoiding that side of the square. I was sitting by the well, and I noticed that Shua was looking at every person and thing as if he had never seen it before. His eyes lingered on people and the animals and the shop wares. And then I felt his eyes come to me. They were there a long time, but I wouldn't look at him. And then there was a silence in the square, and I looked to my left, and it was Aaron. He was filthy, dressed in Gentile rags. His face was gaunt and bore the marks of disease. And he was looking across the square to his father and his brother, who were staring back at him in disbelief. "Father," he said, "I have sinned against heaven and against you. I am not worthy to be called your son. But please, Father, let me come home. Please." His father shook with emotion and said, "I had a boy like you once, but he got lost. I had another son, but he died." And he left the square. Aaron came running up and clutched his brother's arm. "Intercede for me, please, brother. You must." And the older boy said, "How can I be a brother to a Gentile and a thief?" Well, you know what happened, don't you? Of course you do. Shua went up to Aaron and said, "You can stay at my house." And Reuben shouted across the whole square, "That's right, Shua, take him in. Trash belongs with trash, garbage with garbage." Well, to give Aaron his due, he said, "No, Shua, no. I will not bring shame on your family." And he went off down the road he had come. "Shame," Shua said. "What shame that isn't here already? Family?" And he looked at all of us. "I have no family!" And a short while later, he was gone. The next thing we heard of him, he was in Capernaum, and he was preaching, and he was healing, and he was forgiving sins. Shua, with a group following him that was more deluded than he was and calling him Messiah. Messiah! They never came to ask us. They never came to us. Madness. And when his mother and I and some of the other relatives went down to talk to him, just to talk, and they told him his family was there, he looked at the scum he was sitting with, and he said, "Here's my family, here's my mother, my sister, and my brother." He said that to our face. Oh, we came home once, and there was violence, but you can only insult what is precious to people so long before they'll strike back. And when he took that insane parade to Jerusalem, and they crucified him, you will understand if I say, we were not surprised. I didn't mean to sound harsh when I said that. I don't mean to sound cruel. I've described crucifixion for you, and